You know, at first glance, this part of the Bible looks like, well, kind of like a dry administrative list, right? Just a census. But hidden right there in the opening line is this incredible mystery. And it tells a story of tragedy, of loyalty, and a complete shift in an entire society. So let's solve it together.
All right, so here's the puzzle that gets the whole thing started. The text very clearly says, hey, we're about to list the descendants of both Aaron and Moses. But then it doesn't. Moses' kids are just gone. So what happened? Where are they in this super important record?
And this just lays the contradiction bare, doesn't it? On the left, you have the promise, the line of Aaron and Moses. But on the right, the reality. We only get Aaron's sons. Now, this isn't some ancient typo. Nope. There's a much deeper meaning going on here. And to get it, we have to understand how they thought about what it means to be someone's child.
So how do we explain this? Well, the great medieval commentator Rashi gives us the key. He says that because Moses was the one who taught his nephews, Aaron's sons, the Torah, he essentially became their spiritual father. In this way of thinking, teaching is an act of creation. It forges a bond that's just as powerful as biology. So they're called Moses' children because he's the one who gave them their spiritual life. But this isn't just some abstract idea about family trees. It's actually rooted in the very real, very dramatic story of the family right at the heart of this new priesthood.
I mean, just look at this timeline. The stakes could not have been higher. Aaron's 4 sons get this huge honor, right? They're anointed as the very first priests. But almost immediately, disaster strikes. Nadav and Avihu, the 2 oldest, they make this fatal mistake and die, right there on the spot. Suddenly, the entire future of the sacred service is resting on the shoulders of the 2 younger brothers, Elazar and Itamar. The whole system is just incredibly fragile.
Okay, so a catastrophe like that creates a massive problem. The priesthood is vulnerable, they need a support system, and they need it now to protect the sanctuary and help out the 2 remaining priests. The solution they come up with is pretty radical. They decide to draft an entire tribe into permanent service.
And that tribe is the tribe of Levi, the very one Moses and Aaron belong to. They are to be advanced, set apart, and assigned to serve the priests directly. And look, this isn't a part-time gig. This is a complete redefinition of their tribal identity. From now on, their entire purpose is dedicated to this sacred work.
And their role was absolutely massive. They weren't just helpers. They were guardians of the sacred space, they were managers of all its precious stuff, and, this is really key, they served as representatives for the entire nation of Israel. They were doing the holy work that technically belonged to everyone else.
But that just brings up an even bigger question, doesn't it? Why them? Of all 12 tribes, why were the Levites the ones picked for this unique, permanent role? Well, the answer to that unlocks the deepest layer of this entire story.
To answer this, we actually have to rewind the clock a little bit, back to the Exodus from Egypt. Because it turns out, this whole setup with the Levites, that wasn't the original plan, not at all.
You see, originally, God had actually set apart the firstborn male from every family for this sacred service. They were consecrated, made holy, as a direct result of being saved during that final plague back in Egypt. The plan was for the holy work to be spread out across all the tribes, a responsibility held by each and every family.
So what happened was a massive shift, a complete change of plans. A duty that was supposed to belong to the firstborn of every family was now being consolidated into a single tribe. The Levites were literally taken in place of the firstborn. So this wasn't an addition, it was a substitution. Something must have happened that disqualified the firstborn from their sacred duty. And here it is, the final piece of the puzzle, once again from Rashi. It was the great national trauma of the golden calf. While the rest of the nation, including the firstborn, got swept up in idolatry, the tribe of Levi stood apart. They stayed loyal, and it was their merit, their loyalty in that critical moment that earned them the sacred role that the firstborn had just thrown away.
So, wow, we started with what looked like a missing name in a list, and we ended with this epic story of national crisis and redemption. We've solved the puzzle, but what are the big, lasting ideas we should really take away from all this?
Yeah, this is so much more than some old administrative text. It's really a foundational story about the power of mentorship. It's a powerful statement that merit can actually override birthright, and it's a fascinating case study in how a community responds to a crisis by creating a new, stable system built on proven loyalty.
And as we finish up, that's the thought to leave you with.
This ancient shift from a system based on birthright to one based on merit and dedication is a story that is echoed through history. Where do we see this principle at play today? It's a 3,000-year-old idea that we are still building on and still grappling with in our own world.